too late. Leaf Village Secret Finger Jutsu! 1,000 years of death!
Naruto, an anime about a troublemaking kid trying to become the leading ninja in his village one day, aka the Hokage, as he was shunned for having the Nine-Tails Fox within him and tries to do so by following his own ninja way. This series is a somewhat similar situation to Dragon Ball, where it's basically impossible to have never heard of Naruto, given the reputation that it has, especially with a lot of pop culture today praising Naruto and anime in general, as well as being a part of the Big Three alongside Bleach and One Piece, or the Forbidden Four, which adds Dragon Ball into that. Now, I'll be honest, when I was younger, I didn't really watch Naruto too much. I saw stuff from time to time, but I didn't watch it consistently until recently, and oh my goodness, Naruto is so good. I genuinely feel like I missed out heavily on all of the hype of Naruto, but hey, better late than never. One of the best things about the anime that I think a lot of people can agree on is the fights. There's a lot of clear examples in the series to choose from for amazing fights, so having video games in the fighting game genre isn't really a surprise for Naruto. The Clash of Ninja games in particular have been going on for a pretty long time, and over said period of time has developed immensely. It also gets a little weird and confusing with releases, but I'll burn that bridge when I get to it. Get it? Because of the bridge from... You know what? How about I just start the review for Naruto Clash of Ninja so that you guys don't try to shoot me. This game tells the story of Naruto up until the end of the Land of Waves arc. By the way, I call this the Zabuza arc just to keep things short, so I'll just be saying that for this video. Now again, it goes up to the end of the Zabuza arc, but it also includes a tiny part afterwards where they meet Lee for the first time, which is a little odd in my opinion, but whatever. That's not the main thing I'm going to be talking about. Now, some of you are probably expecting a Dragon Ball game level of retelling events where it could lead to hours upon hours of storytelling and fights and gameplay, and in case you aren't already aware, this is what people call sarcasm. The story mode is about a half hour long. Yep, you get through this game's entire story mode in about the time span of an actual Naruto episode. An entire arc that was 20 episodes is being presented as long as one episode. You can probably imagine why that's upsetting to me. One main issue I have with this is that most of the meaning behind every fight is left out in this game. Everything was taken pretty seriously throughout this arc, but everything feels a lot more nonchalant than it should be in this game. For instance, for Kakashi's survival exercise, Naruto passes just because, where normally it was to show how a squad needed to work together to accomplish missions. I mean, it's harder to do in this game because fights are only 1v1, but the game also kinda makes it seem like Zabuza doesn't die at the end of the game, which isn't what happens at all. Now look, I understand not everything had to be used, but only having 8 fights for the story doesn't sound right, especially considering that one of those 8 fights is against Lee. Then some fights aren't used, like Naruto against Mizuki and the first time Team 7 meets Zabuza, which is a little bit questionable, mainly since it zooms through a lot of the story by skipping over these fights, which honestly are kind of important. Something that could have remedied this is having multiple playable characters for the story mode, since you only play as Naruto. I mean, there's Sasuke, Kakashi, Sakura...
そうね。私ったらどの任務でもそう。一番いいとこなしだもんね。
There's Sasuke and Kakashi, which could have added more time towards the story mode instead of it being over and done with after 30 minutes. The story of Naruto was almost entirely gutted and only left the bones. And some of the bones are gone too. The story feels incredibly underutilized, which is a big shame given how good this arc is. Starting up the game shows a rotation of a random stage and a random character saying the name of the game, giving some uniqueness every time you turn it on, and considering a certain aspect of this game I'll bring up later, that ends up being many times for me. One of the most impressive things to me in terms of presentation is the art style, because goodness, the art style really shines and brings out 2D Naruto very well in a 3D environment with its cell shading. There's a few blemishes that are kind of annoying to look at when you see them, but during gameplay you won't see most of them, and probably won't care either way. Speaking of 3D environments, the stages, for as few as there are pretty nice looking, having a good amount of color and various sizes and shapes. There are also some nice details in the stages if you look for them, like Hinata and Konohamaru at the Konoha Gate, Choji at the ramen shop, the third Hokage at the Academy rooftop, snow falling on the final round on the bridge, and everyone standing away from the swing at the schoolyard. Ahaha. That last one might not be an intended reference, but knowing Naruto, it probably was. Also, Gamabunta has his own stage, which I'm pretty sure is made up. That or it just doesn't make sense with the content this game uses. Then there's the interactions between characters, which I feel was done pretty dang well. Some of them are specific references to the original material itself.
Give it up. What lies in your future is defeat.
Bear witness to my technique.
If I win, allow me to take you on a date.
There's no way!
I can take you, bushy brow!
The one I'd like to fight is Uchiha.
Which is kinda lost since none of those things are in this game's story mode. They're more for the people who have watched Naruto already. Also, Sakura and Sasuke interactions are funny because the game very much shows Sakura being in love with Sasuke, but Sasuke doesn't have unique stuff with her. I find that extremely hilarious. Also, Naruto vs Sasuke has one of the coolest opening interactions to me.
I've been waiting for this. I want to fight you.
For me, this rivals Fighters openings. I'm not even joking when I say that. Now each character has an alternate color. One alternate color. I kinda wish they did more than that. Now don't get me wrong, some of them are fine, but then some of them are kinda cursed. Blue Sakura and Red Naruto just feel wrong, but it's whatever, since there are references with others, I think. Zabuza skins are both of his clothes that you see in the show, but Kakashi and Iruka are kinda questionable to me. I think their outfits are supposed to be the Sand Village versions of them, but I'm not 100% sure on that. By the way, every character has the same voice actor as they do in the show, which is something that I'll always love. Plus that's probably going to be expected in most cases for anime games. Naruto is also the announcer voice, which makes sense since it's Naruto. I do feel like having the third Hokage being the announcer would work too, but that's just me wanting things. The soundtrack for this game is awesome in every way. All of the tracks are extremely catchy, having a ninja vibe to them, mostly being rock songs similar to the fight music from the show, and I can very easily see myself listening to most of these tracks in my spare time. The game starts you off with 7 playable characters with 3 you can unlock. On one of 7 stages, 2 characters face off in one-on-one combat, either until one person's health reaches 0 or time runs out. You're able to change the time rule though, so that point might be mute sometimes. Each character has various weak and strong attacks that they can combine together for combo strings. Weak attacks are usually the normal stuff that you would see in any fighting game of this nature. Strong attacks tend to use a projectile or a special ninjutsu. You can get different types of attacks by holding one of 4 directions or not holding any direction while pressing a button. Backwards weak attacks are slow, but have moments during the startup that have armor, allowing them to deflect enemy attacks and continue your own. Backwards strong hits are one of 3 things: a counter, a teleport, or a special stance. There are also air attacks, dash attacks, and throws that can be done. In any stage, you can shift to the left or the right to dodge out of the way of attacks. The bottom gauge displays the amount of chakra each character has. You build up this amount by hitting your opponent, getting hit by your opponent, and blocking your opponent's attacks. When the meter turns green, which is 75% of your gauge, you have access to a body replacement jutsu. You can activate this whenever you are getting hit in a combo string, and by doing so, you activate one of 2 counters which hits behind the opponent. You do a falling counter if activated in the air, and a running attack if you activate it on the ground. When your chakra gauge is completely filled, you can use a secret special technique, which is a unique cinematic attack for each character. Some moves can be held down to power them up without needing chakra, mainly projectiles, but others do require chakra to either hold them in place or have them last longer. There are 7 game modes that can be played in this game. The story mode goes through the Zabuza arc, like I mentioned already. 1 player is an arcade mode where you fight every character once until you've beaten them all. Versus computer has you play against a computer, obviously, while 2 player has you and a friend fight against each other. I kinda wish these weren't separate categories, but whatever. Training allows you to practice characters while also displaying your inputs on screen. Survival has you continuously fight enemies that get stronger each match. After each round, you also get a little bit of health back if you lost any previously. Time attack has you try to defeat 8 characters as fast as you can. Playing the different modes gives you extras, such as character profiles, sound effects, and music, as well as a gallery containing sprite work for the game. You can even unlock a higher computer difficulty and attack damage amount, which you can change alongside the amount of time and rounds per match. The general combat feels really good in this game. While the forefront of this game's combo structure is incredibly simple, what causes it to shine more is what lies beyond that, which is mainly the mind games that go with it. Trying to predict whether your opponent is going to substitute or not and when is one of the deciding factors, as well as the types of combos that each character can perform. With each character having their own unique combo list, no one feels similar fighting as or against them, with a few exceptions that I'll go into later. And then again, that's probably due to the admittedly small roster, which I'll also go into later, but still the individual playstyles help. Another thing is that some combos can lead into straight hits after the end of some combos, adding a little bit of extra damage. Knowing what moves work well for this helps out those who are willing to experiment with character attacks, and the map shapes and sizes also affects these things too. Speaking of the combos, some of them just look and feel stupidly satisfying. Being able to send your opponent flying to the other side of the arena, especially the larger ones, is one of the most hilarious experiences to have. But the satisfaction can also be chalked up to the fact that a lot of moves used are things that the characters have done in the anime itself, including their supers. Well, sort of. Kakashi, Haku, and Zabuza have really cool supers which are direct references. Sakura's is a representation of the beatdown she'd give Naruto, also displaying her inner self, which was a very cool way of using that. And Kakashi with Sharingan can copy and counter anyone's super with his own version, which sometimes gives really awesome side effects. Anything aside from that is a little weird. Iruku's super, I'm pretty sure, is made up for this game. Maybe this is a technique he has and I just haven't seen it yet, but no idea. Lee is fine, that's his technique, but Naruto and Sasuke's supers are built off of Lee's, but following the information used for this game, neither of them should be able to do this, and I do have an idea for supers in place of this. For Naruto, have that one sequence with the Demon Wind Shuriken, but just replace Sasuke with the Naruto clone. For Sasuke, he could have a Sharingan install since that's not in the game for him for some reason. Again, more stuff from this arc that just isn't used. This will make his attack slightly stronger and would carry over between rounds. Regardless, I might be a little nitpicky about this. I just like representation being relatively accurate. Overall, the gameplay reminds me a lot of Tekken, a 3D arena fighter where you can move side to side and chain attacks with directional inputs, even getting in some ground hits as well. It's infinitely more simple than Tekken, which I'm kinda grateful for, like my goodness, Tekken is too much for my feeble little mind to handle, but the similarities work out extremely well for Naruto in my opinion, aside from one aspect. Supers don't feel like they have a place in this game. I'm not talking about representation, they did a pretty good job with that. I'm talking about its implementation as gameplay. Mainly because comboing into these are either impossible in an actual match, or if it is possible, isn't all that practical. You can look up combos on YouTube for these characters across multiple games, and some of them look really cool involving supers. You'll notice that basically all of them can only be done on enemies that won't retaliate, because if they could, they'd almost always be able to get out of them with substitution due to how fast chakra is built in this game. Almost any combo in this game will give enough meter for substitution, so these higher damaging combos with supers can't be applied in an actual game. And before some of you say to alter the amount of chakra gain, you can't do that. Only how much damage attacks do. One of the only ways to use a super in an actual combo is to have it be much shorter by cancelling it with the second hit of your neutral B combo, which doesn't even work with some characters, by the way. And at that point, it barely adds damage to it, so you might as well just do them raw, which then creates the problem of shorter range supers being as easy to dodge as stepping backwards 2 steps. Comboing into these won't really work either since getting substitution is dirt cheap, and they'll practically always be able to get out of them. You might as well just keep your meter to use for substitution instead of wasting all of your meter for supers. Content is very limited. All of the separate modes feel the exact same, and unlocking almost everything is tied to the arcade mode, which makes unlocking stuff feel like it takes forever, since it's the same 8 matches over and over again. Getting the character file and audio for certain characters by using that character makes sense, but then you have unlocking Ninetales Naruto and Kakashi with Sharingan, and things get really annoying. In order to get Ninetales Naruto, you must go through every character's arcade mode twice. Then, to get Kakashi with Sharingan, you have to go through arcade mode once more with Kakashi after unlocking Ninetales Naruto. So if we do our math right, there's 8 characters and you have to do their arcades twice, then you do Kakashi's once more, and we have to add in the story mode because we have to do that to unlock Lee, and that means we have to do basically the same repetitive mode 18 times. They don't even play that differently to make it feel worth it going after, in my opinion. On top of that, unlocking the hardest computer setting and highest attack power are the things that are tied to getting first place in time attack and survival, which again don't feel very different. So we might as well add in 2 more times for those if you're trying to get everything in the game. Having at least some kind of grander variety to gameplay modes would help make this feel a little less tedious. The combat is fun in this game, but play it over a long period of time only to unlock slight differences, and it ends up being a massive bore. The roster for this game is so ridiculously small, and in terms of fighting games is one of the smallest I've ever seen, even by standards of license-based games. Having so few characters could potentially end up not having a lot of variety and make matches get a little uninteresting quickly in large sessions, especially when you're trying to unlock Ninetales Naruto and Kakashi with Sharingan. So you'd think I would put this in the bad section. However, I genuinely don't think it could have been improved at all. Going up to the end of the Zabuza arc, the developers used that material and selected the main important characters for the roster, and when doing that, got basically every needed character from that arc. I really can't think of any other characters that could have been used, aside from maybe Mizuki, but again, since they didn't even include him in the story mode to begin with, I guess they wouldn't have even bothered with it. But they even included that extra bit at the end where you meet Lee, so that they could have had another character in the game. So in that way, this is probably the best inclusion of characters, but the roster only being 10 characters makes it so much harder to appreciate that, especially since 2 of them, like I mentioned before, come after doing so much of the same repetitive work, and said 2 characters are almost the exact same as their original counterparts. It is very bittersweet. This game is giving me a bit of mixed opinions. Yes, the gameplay is immensely fun and satisfying, and the presentation displays Naruto incredibly well for its combat. But story and game mode wise, there is a lot to be desired, as those parts feel more bare bones, which led to more of a repetitive nature. In short bursts, this game is great, but played too long and it gets tedious, which is something that could easily be fixed with a sequel. Oh yeah, I've got to get to all of those at some point. What's going on, my fellow residents? It's me, TheFrozenCavern, and thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. Finally, I have now added Naruto to the repertoire of games that I'm going to be reviewing. Now, I don't know how often I'm going to be doing Naruto games, especially since I actually have to watch the anime, so there's that. And some people are probably wondering why I didn't just do Clash of Ninja 2. It's because I want to see how the games in a series has evolved over time, and that's very easily done when you start from the very beginning of their games, rather than just hopping around anywhere I feel like it. But regardless, I do want to try and expand more and more on anime games, as those do fall within the realm of license-based games, and I'll continue to do that in the future. The only thing is, I don't know how often that's going to be, but it's something for the future that I'll have to decide on. Regardless though, if you guys have not already, make sure you guys go down into the description below, as that is where all of my social medias are located. My Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Discord are all in the description, and there are always of you guys being notified of whenever I upload another video or have an update for the channel. And if you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe for more, as well as share this video out with your friends and family. But until next video, take care.